Welcome back to the firing line. I want you to take a close look at the heavy metal resting in my hands today. We are looking at a design that has been putting rounds on target for more than a century. Speaking from years of running drills and teaching defensive tactics, I can tell you this for a fact. The raw performance and buttery cycling of this classic iron will easily outpace a massive chunk of the modern polymer frame striker guns sitting in display cases right now. Today, we are stripping down the details on 7 phenomenal sidearms that offer a lot more than just a fun afternoon plinking steel. These are generational investments. We are discussing rugged defensive tools that actually settle in and perform better while lesser guns are rattling themselves to pieces. When you put money down on one of these platforms, you are securing a piece of hardware that your grandchildren are going to inherit. And when we get to the crown jewel at the top of this list, let us just say it earned its stripes across 2 major global conflicts. Any serious armorer will look you dead in the eye and say it is the singular fighting pistol you must have in your safe. Let us head to the bench and break these down. Number 7. The Ruger GP100. Let us kick things off with the Ruger GP100. Right around 1985, the engineers over at Ruger got tired of playing games in the revolver space. They decided to push past their older Security 6 lineup and engineer an absolute juggernaut. When folks complained about the longevity of standard wheel guns, this absolute tank was the solution. We are not talking about a safe queen here. This is a .357 Magnum that feels like you are holding a chunk of heavy industrial machinery. The mechanical design is unapologetically robust. Ruger integrated a massive triple-locking cylinder mechanism. It secures itself at the bottom, the back, and the front of the frame. That guarantees your timing and alignment remain dead on, no matter how hard you run it. Straight from the factory, it features those recoil-absorbing Hogue rubber grips, paired with a transfer bar mechanism so you can confidently carry it fully loaded without fear of a drop discharge. In my own range testing, I have fed these revolvers the absolute hottest, maximum pressure .357 Magnum defensive loads I could source. The gun barely flinches. You will never experience cylinder shake or timing issues with standard use. But the real magic is the flexibility. Load up some light .38 special wad cutters for a training class, and the recoil impulse feels exactly like plinking with a .22 long rifle. That heavy underlug stretching all the way down the barrel acts like a counterweight, fighting muzzle rise and keeping you locked on the A-zone. Because that frame is formed from thick, investment cast steel, top strap stretching is physically impossible. And let me tell you about that double-action trigger. While other firearms need a total rebuild at 50,000 rounds, this Ruger is just finally hitting its stride and smoothing out. If you ever need a sidearm for the end of the world, this is the exact piece an experienced gunsmith will hand you. On the retail side, a fresh 4-inch barrel version will set you back roughly $700 to $850. Upgrading to the Match Champion with its polished internals and fiber optic front sight bumps you into the $900 to $1,100 neighborhood. Scouring the secondary market, you can snag a reliable, used workhorse for $550 to $700. It is the textbook definition of overbuilt, and it is worth every penny. Number 6. The SIG Sauer P226. Stepping back into the 1980s, the United States Armed Forces needed a modern sidearm to retire their aging 1911s. During those grueling military trials, one specific platform matched the Beretta blow for blow, and actually edged it out in pure functional reliability. That platform was the SIG P226. The logistics officers in Washington only passed on it because the long-term maintenance packages were priced a little too steep. But the naval special warfare community operates on a different wavelength. The SEALs recognized the sheer tactical advantage, integrated the P226 into their loadouts, and pushed it to the absolute limit across the globe. What you have here is top-tier European machining tailored for serious duty use. The slide is carved directly from a solid chunk of stainless steel. It mates up to a lightweight alloy frame, but those precision-machined rails provide a lockup so tight it feels like the slide glides on glass. You also get a world-class cold hammer forged barrel, engineered to military specifications. From a concealed carry perspective, the frame-mounted deckhocker is a phenomenal safety asset. It allows you to safely lower the hammer over a live round, setting you up for a heavy double-action first pull without fumbling for a manual safety under extreme stress. Additionally, SIG applies their proprietary nitrin finish, which acts as an ironclad shield against corrosive sweat, maritime environments, and heavy kydex wear. I have inspected police trade-ins that looked like they had been dragged behind a patrol car, but the internals were immaculate. Running 100,000 rounds through this system is practically just the break-in period. You definitely pay for that military pedigree. A brand new standard issue model runs anywhere from $900 to $1,100. If you step up to the Legion series, featuring that beautiful gray coating and enhanced trigger geometry, you are looking at $1,200 to $1,400. For the hardcore purists hunting down a vintage West German stamped slide, expect to shell out between $1,500 and $2,000. Standard used models hover right around the $700 to $900 mark. It was too pricey for standard infantry, but it was the ultimate tool for the quiet professionals. Number 5. The Glock 19. Let us talk about a massive paradigm shift in 1988. Gaston Glock took his revolutionary full-size design and trimmed the dimensions perfectly. The result was the Glock 19, and it instantly rewrote the rules for civilian concealed carry and law enforcement. I will be the first to admit it. It is basically a polymer block. It lacks the artistic soul of a blued steel revolver, but it stands completely undisputed as the most resilient, rugged handgun ever pumped out of a factory. The genius lies in its extreme minimalism. Consisting of roughly 34 internal parts, the failure points are practically non-existent. You do not have to worry about a hammer catching on your concealment garment. You do not have a manual safety lever to sweep down when your adrenaline is spiking at 200 beats per minute. You establish your grip, press the trigger, and it fires. The factory tenifer treatment on the slide literally alters the steel at a microscopic level, making it incredibly hard and shrugging off rust like it is nothing. Down below, that polymer grip frame acts like a shock absorber, subtly flexing during detonation to preserve the lifespan of the steel components. Inside, the Colt Hammer Forge hexagonal barrel creates an incredibly tight seal around the projectile, boosting your muzzle velocity and extending the barrel life. As an instructor, I have watched these guns get buried in mud, frozen solid, and submerged in swamp water. They simply do not quit. There are heavily abused training pistols out there with 250,000 rounds through the pipe, and they still punch tight groups at 25 yards. The price point is where it really shines for the average American. A factory-new Generation 5 Glock 19 will run you about $550 to $650. If you want the factory optics cut to mount a red dot, throw an extra 100 on top. You can easily locate heavily carried, gently fired Generation 3 police trade-ins for $400 to $500. It is the ultimate utilitarian workhorse of the defensive shooting world. Number 4. The Beretta 92. Taking it back to 1975, the Beretta 92 platform stepped onto the scene, proving that an absolute workhorse of a fighting gun can still be a work of art. When the military officially stamped it as the M9 back in 1985, it walked through brutal environmental testing that physically destroyed competing designs. The first thing you notice is that massive cutaway slide. It is visually striking, but from a tactical standpoint, it is a brilliant engineering move. If you get mud, brass shavings, or a ruptured case in the action, the debris has a massive exit window instead of jamming up the ejection port. Instead of a standard Browning tilting barrel, this system utilizes a falling locking block. That means the barrel drives straight backward during the recoil cycle, locking in exceptional mechanical accuracy. And the chrome lining inside that bore means you will likely go broke buying ammunition before you ever shoot out the rifling. The traditional double-action, single-action firing mechanism offers a massive tactical advantage: second strike capability. If you hit a stubborn primer, you do not have to tap and rack. You just stroke the trigger a second time. The slide-mounted safety doubles as a dickhawker. I know some tactical shooters complain about the placement, but it guarantees an incredibly safe administrative handling process. After nearly 4 decades of spilling brass in Middle Eastern deserts and domestic patrol beats, this platform is deeply proven. The forged aluminum alloy frame takes a beating, and unlike early polymers, it will never grow brittle from long-term UV exposure. If you want to add one to the collection, a standard 92 FS runs between $650 and $800. Upgraded tactical variants like the M9A3 or A4 easily command $900 to $1,100. If you are chasing those pristine early production Italian models, collectors are happily dropping $1,000 or more. It stands as the ultimate proof that you do not need solid steel from grip to muzzle to build a generational legacy. Number 3. The CZ75. Right in the middle of 1975, isolated behind the Iron Curtain, Czech engineers designed what I genuinely consider the most naturally pointing handgun ever forged. The CZ75 borrowed the high-capacity DNA of the Browning High Power, but completely revolutionized the trigger mechanics and the slide profile. The undisputed genius of this platform is the slide-to-frame fit. Instead of riding on the outside like a traditional 1911 or a SIG, the CZ slide is machined to ride entirely inside the frame channels. This aggressively lowers the bore axis directly into the web of your hand. When you run rapid strings of fire, the physics work in your favor, severely limiting muzzle flip and keeping your sights tracking perfectly. Combine that low axis with 35 ounces of solid steel and the felt recoil is virtually erased. Because those internal slide rails run the entire length of the frame, the friction is spread out evenly. The crazy part is, the more you shoot this pistol, the smoother those mating surfaces become. As for the trigger, the single action wall is incredibly defined, breaking cleanly right around that 4 to 5 pound mark. Dozens of manufacturers have tried to clone this architecture, but the original Czech steel remains undefeated. That is exactly why elite operators, including the Russian Spetsnaz, and top-tier competitive shooters have relied on it for decades. You can grab a standard CZ75B off the shelf for around $600 to $750. If you want the race gun performance of the Shadow 2 lineup, prepare to drop $1,200 to $1,400. For the historical purists, those vintage pre-B models are skyrocketing in value, currently sitting between $800 and $1,200. Some folks call it a niche enthusiast gun, but the mechanical superiority is absolutely undeniable. Number 2. The Browning High Power. This right here is the ultimate parting gift from the legendary John Moses Browning. He laid the groundwork, and the master gunsmith Dieudonné Save at FN brought the final vision to life. When this weapon officially launched in 1935, it rendered everything else obsolete. While lawmen and soldiers were making do with 7 or 8 rounds, this masterpiece introduced a double-stack magazine holding 13 rounds of 9mm. It birthed the entire concept of the modern high-capacity defensive pistol. Over 50 different sovereign nations adopted it for military and police service. From the elite British SAS to the Canadian Armed Forces, and even opposing forces throughout World War II, this gun saw action on every front. That kind of universal adoption tells you everything you need to know. Internally, it utilizes a brilliant cam-lock operating system, which completely bypasses the complexity of the older swinging link designs. When you draw this weapon, the grip profile instantly molds to your palm. It points as intuitively as aiming your own finger at the target. If you are hunting for true perfection, the vintage Belgian-manufactured FN models are the holy grail. The bluing and hand-fitted tolerances from that era simply do not exist on modern assembly lines. A well-maintained high power feels perfectly balanced, incredibly slim for inside-the-waistband carry, and devastatingly effective. In today's market, a reliable Belgian shooter-grade model will demand $800 to $1,200. The modernized Mark III versions, boasting upgraded combat sights, easily pull $1,000 to $1,500. If your heart is set on a rare tangent sight variant or a World War II occupation piece with historical proofs, it is going to hurt the wallet. You are realistically looking at $2,000 to $4,000. Make no mistake, this is the grandfather that birthed your favorite modern tactical pistol. Number 1. The Colt 1911. At the end of the day, there is only one true heavyweight champion. On March 29, 1911, the United States military officially embraced the most lethal, brilliantly designed fighting pistol in human history. The Colt government model is not just a firearm. It is a pillar of American culture. This platform held the line in the muddy trenches of Europe, fought through the Pacific Theater, survived the freezing temperatures of Korea, and patrolled the dense jungles of Vietnam. So why does it hold the #1 spot as the ultimate heirloom? It comes down to raw materials and surgical mechanics. We are dealing with slabs of forged ordnance steel. The trigger mechanics on a 1911 are the absolute gold standard that every other manufacturer is still trying to replicate. Instead of pivoting on a pin, the trigger shoe drives straight rearward. The brake is as crisp as snapping a glass rod, and the reset is so short you can barely feel the travel. The grip angle locks your wrists into a naturally aggressive fighting posture, and we have to respect the 45 ACP. It is a heavy, slow-moving projectile that hits targets with the kinetic energy of a runaway train. The absolute best part of this platform is the modularity. You can swap out match-grade barrels, tune the extractors, upgrade the bushings, and replace recoil springs indefinitely. The forged frame simply refuses to die. I have personally handled World War I era models stamped in 1918 that can still hold a group the size of a teacup at 25 yards. Because this gun is a lifestyle, the aftermarket support is massive. Legendary shops like Wilson Combat and Nighthawk Custom have built empires elevating this design to an art form. Pricing covers a massive spectrum. A rock-solid, base-level Colt or Springfield Armory will run you right around $800 to $1,000. Authentic World War II surplus from Remington Rand or Colt jumps up to the $1,500 to $3,000 range. If you cross into the bespoke hand-built custom territory, you can easily drop $4,000 to $10,000 without a second thought. But even a bare-bones, mil-spec model will outlive your shooting career. It does not wear out, it gracefully wears in. Every single scratch on that parkerized finish is a piece of history. This is the ultimate embodiment of American firepower. Alright, that wraps up our deep dive. 7 absolute titans of the handgun world, engineered to run hard and pass the test of time. Whether you lean toward the brute force of a heavy Ruger revolver or the battle-tested legacy of a forged 1911, these are far beyond temporary tools. These are the defensive platforms you spend a quiet evening stripping and oiling, preparing to hand them over to the next generation when they are responsible enough to carry the torch. Owning a true legacy firearm is a down payment on your family's safety and heritage. Now, I want to hear your perspective. Which of these heavy hitters is currently locked inside your gun safe? Or which specific model are you actively saving up for next? Drop your thoughts down in the comments section below so we can keep the conversation going. If you found this breakdown valuable, please hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment to let the algorithm know you want more tactical deep dives. Stay safe, train hard, and I will see you out on the range.